Hey guys, Stealth here. Welcome to part 4 of the survival mode, or the adventure mode in FTD. I'm back here on what is going to be named the Platypus, thanks to its pretty narrow beak, insofar as you can call a submarine having a beak. What I'm currently dealing with is still my target on the surface, and that is the flayed sole. Now the flayed sole is not particularly deadly to me at the current stage. It doesn't seem to have any underwater weaponry. It's burning through fuel like crazy. Those jet engines are extremely hungry, and basically all I have to do is wait for it to run out of fuel. But I have more pressing concerns, and this is something that I didn't touch on in the last episode, but it's already occurring. Here is my submarine. And over here to the to the northwest, we have a target popping in. This is a trilobite class. Note the altitude, minus 36. That thing is a submarine. And I'm not sure if it has already fired or if it's about to, but I believe it will start firing torpedoes pretty damn soon. Those torpedoes, let's see if I can actually find my own ship again. Those torpedoes, I believe, have not yet been fired. And this does give me some opportunity to start fixing an anti-torpedo system. It's not going to be too easy though, as I want to try and close my distance on the enemy sub, but the anti-torpedo system only works when it's on the rear, so that the torpedoes or the torpedo blockers are between myself and the enemy torpedoes. So I'm going to be building those pretty much around the propulsion system, and hoping that that way they can actually do some blocking damage, as it were, to enemy torpedoes. So that's going to be the focus now. I'm not going to be focusing on getting a hit on the platypus, on the flayed sole up here. I'm just going to wait until this thing runs out of fuel. The enemy submarine is a far more pressing issue. So let's unpause the game. Let's adjust the torpedoes and send a few, hopefully, in the direction of the enemy submarine, the trilobite. Let's go into build mode, unpause the game, and I'm going to tell this thing to go back to actually being submarine. So we're going to have a couple of fins on the back, a torpedo propeller, actually a second torpedo propeller there. I'm going to have a ballast tank. I want to have a regulator on here, and we're going to finish that thing off with a torpedo sonar. Install that on all the tubes. Let's see, the friendly fire system is online and ready to go. And I want to fire those things pretty much manually in a set direction, which is to, let's see, this is south, this is north, and west would it be about there, in that direction. They're currently trying to, oh crap, I forgot something. Their ballast tanks are still set, no, they're not set to very high altitude. Never mind, not a problem. In the meanwhile, time to start moving, and time to start turning tail, ASAP. Oh crap, I think I forgot to put in a fuel tank. That is a bit of an oversight. Give me 2 fuel tanks. Have a good one. Let's keep turning the submarine around. You can see my own torpedoes still more or less floating about. Hopefully they're not going to do any damage to me. And, oh crap, we already got the first 2 torpedoes coming in. What are they going to do? Oh, that doesn't look good. I'm not sure if they actually hit me, but I'm not particularly eager to find out. That definitely did hit me. Looks like fragmentation warheads. So, time to do a bit of a speed build. Once again, adventure mode. Time to throw everything that looks pretty out the window and purely go for effectivity. This thing has to work, and it has to only get these things in the direction of the torpedo. Come on, let's make these a bit longer. There. I want to have 1 missile interceptor head on the nose. We're going to go with a regulator times 2 and a ballast tank. Apply, and just fire them already. There. They are behind my submarine. The question is, will it work? I don't believe so. But the AI on the enemy side is dead. Hopefully... Yes! There we go. That submarine is no longer a problem. I only have to worry about, and only might be a bit optimistic here, about those things on my stern, which are still quite lethal. 1729 points of damage, or sorry, 1729 resources. Come on, drop them. I'm not sure if they even work. Did something change in the patch? Or is this patched out? Look at all the damage that they're doing, by the way. It seems like they're doing EMP damage to my ship. Anyway, the enemy sub is dead. Does it leave any resources behind? Oh, yes it did. Good. In the meanwhile, we can go pick up the resources and wait for the flayed soul to run out of fuel. That's the tactic. Just sit back and wait. There's propulsion backup. Let's go into the map viewer. Complete a port turn. Looks like we have yet another contender here. We have a retribution coming in. Something that also burns through fuel pretty quickly, but it seems to have plenty aboard. Which is not quite something that the flayed soul can say. 8,000 points of fuel left and still going down very, very quickly. And definitely more importantly to me, I'm alive. That is something that I'm very, very happy about. Have I taken any severe damage? Nope. Looks like the submarine is in pretty decent operating condition. Alright, I can take these things back off. I don't hope to encounter another submarine again. You never know what's going to happen, but let's hope that it doesn't come to this again. Looks like the flayed soul took another good hit. For some reason my torpedoes aren't actually firing. What kind of a sonar do I have on here? An active sonar. It is tracking one system. Aha. There we go. The torpedoes were not hooked up to the mainframe. I must have adjusted that during the last playthrough, or during the last episode that I did. Let's come right to course. Let's say that would be about 295, something like that. Yeah, heading 297. In case you don't understand what I'm talking about when I'm saying heading, to the right you see the 727 and then it says 16,000, that's the resources, and then 2 lines above that it says heading 302. That's my current heading. Consider that like the compass. This is heading 0. To the right, heading 90. To the south, heading 180. And to the west, heading 270 or 270. So with my current bearing, I'm actually doing 289 at the moment. And it looks like I might actually be able to inflict some damage here on the flayed soul. There's EMP damage going in, 1.2k. But did that actually do damage, is the real question. Because I think that its propulsion has been knocked off. And it seems like it's not doing that well in the weapons department either. I'd say that that aircraft, the Retribution, is taking it apart bit by bit. Let's keep heading for the pickup here. And actually, I want to try and make this nose a bit more well-rounded. Because I believe that the drag factor is still going to be pretty high. 48. Right. That's the cross-section. I believe that that's the problem here. The question is, how am I going to make this thing a bit more hydrodynamic? Maybe something like that. And then one more beam inside it. Would that work? 41. That's better. It was 48, so that's a definite improvement. And I just picked up all the resources from that destroyed, or actually a brain-dead submarine that disappeared there. So the torpedo salvo going in. I don't think I'm doing that much EMP damage to it. I think it's mostly taken enough damage to its systems already. So let's adjust the torpedoes. Let's go for something that actually does damage. Explosives. And I don't think I need to adjust anything else there. Fire when ready. Now, with 1600 resources, I can focus on building an anti-air system. Which, I know, is a bit unusual in a submarine. But with all the air targets around, it is something that I will need. It's just going to be a question of how long that I want those missiles to be. I'm just estimating here. This is going to be a missile 5 long. Yeah, so I'm going to need to build a little bit of a base platform here. One there, a couple like that. That's where the launch pad's going to sit. And then a couple like this. That should work. Important here is that they have enough room around the launch pad for me to install ejectors. Without ejectors, those things are never going to reach the surface in the first place. And you know what? If I put the connector underneath the launch pad, then that would probably work better. So what I need to do is make these 3-meter beams. I mean, well, we're still firing torpedoes, still doing a bit of EMP damage. Yeah, it's not too bad. Okay, so missiles. I'm going to put the connector underneath the launch pad. For now I'm just filling it out, just trying to get a feel for the system. Whoops, not over there. Here, please. And, I think this will fit. Come on, give me the right angling. There we go. One there. On the side. So now I have 4 ejectors per launch pad. I hope I have enough. No, damn it, it won't fit. Okay, I'm going to have to make it a bit bigger. These I won't need. So there I should be able to fit the staggered add-ons. And now I should be able to fit in all the ejectors that I need. One there. Yes, that's better. So now I have 5 launch tubes. Now we need the gantries to... Whoops! I can hear all the people talking about the keyboard building system. Yeah, Stealth, that would never have happened if you just listened to me and went with the actual building that I recommended, which is keyboard building. Yeah. Let's first top all of these things off. There we go. Do a bit of surgery on the submarine. It is starting to flood, but that's not really a problem. I can only go deeper with the sub. I don't particularly need to go up. 2-meter beam there, another one there, and there. And then a 3-meter beam like that. And I believe that this should be a 4-meter. There we go. Okay. So that's done. Next up, a controller. There we go. Now we have missiles. Now I need to know if I can actually see above the water. I believe I have a buoy system on here. Yeah, it's a radar buoy, so that will allow me to see above water. These things are going to have a start delay of 3 seconds, should do it. And I'm actually pretty happy with the rest of the setup. Although, it's an air target, and I want that air target to go down fast. So I'm going to set a fragmentation warhead to do an angle of 20. And with the staggered fire add-on, I should have everything I need. Let's give this thing a test fire. It's climbing, 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 thanks to the ejector. Comes up and dips right down. But the other missile, oh, there we go. Yep, they are looking towards a target. They're not really sure what to go for, by the looks of it. But I think that the missile itself will work. It's just that that 3 second might have been a bit too much. Fire again. 1, 2. Propulsion should go up. Looks like a bit of lag there from a detonation of something. And nah. I don't really like that. How about setting no delay whatsoever? Reload the missiles, please. Get ready to fire again. There's no delay. The thing is, they're trying to aim via the one turn, and that's causing them to do all sorts of weird stuff. I'm probably too deep. Oh, too damaged. Looks like somebody's about to leave a whole lot of salvage over there. Let's turn the ship around. Which I cannot do from this position. Moving up. The anti-roll system should be kicking in. We're still firing at something? And if yes, then what? They're still... I'm not sure. I think that there are missiles. Yeah, they're missiles. Hello. If I can finish off that flayed soul. Hang on, radiations level critical? That's new. What radiation are they possibly talking about? I have no idea what kind of radiation might be happening around my ship. But, okay. Apparently we have radiation problems. Anyway, let's take out this flayed soul. Oh, what? Oh, there you are. Flayed soul, 60%. Cost 16,000. If I can kill that thing off, that would give me a nice amount of resources. And apparently there's a patchwork a little bit further to the east. Where that air target went, I have no idea. Anyway, let's hook this thing up to the main AI system. I don't need an IFF on this system, because it's not that likely to go after me in the first place. We're going to fit that there. It's still... hang on, it's still connected? How then? Fit that thing in there. And then possibly park the local weapons controller right on top of it. No. Really? You're gonna be like that? Fine. AI, local weapons controller. Done. Okay. Maximum range. I would say about... maybe 1,200 meters. I think I cannot get that much more out of the missiles. Minimum altitude. 15 to... yeah, 10 would do. Maximum altitude, not a problem. Maximum speed, not really an issue. And then connect this thing to the mainframe. Now I know that this is making my sub a bit more detectable, but it is tough to try and connect all of these elements. Especially all the way over there on the bow. Although... nah, never mind, I have an active sonar anyway. And it is tracking the flayed soul. Interesting. So why are my torpedoes firing? Is that thing out of range, perhaps? Yeah, I think so. It's considered out of range, but we're closing on it pretty quickly. So that's good. Let's carry on. Any targets around? I'm really wondering whatever happened to that airborne target that we saw before. This is still something that I would like to get. Resources. And I think that that's pointing me to another resource field. Yep. 424. It's not too bad. Aside from that, nothing. Oh, a blue warp gate. Those are nice. So that's what I was looking for a couple of episodes ago. When I wanted to try and get into reach of a blue warp gate. so that I could get my sub built instead of having to do that somewhere at the bottom of the ocean. And there's another red warp gate. Fantastic. The red warp gate is pretty much right on top of the resource field. Ooh. That's tough. There's nothing I can do with that. Let's fire off the torpedoes. Give them a nudge. 2,800 meters. They should be able to reach that. Not too worried. Sure, they're going to take a while to get there, but whatever. I gotta say, I really love that I don't have to worry about energy. I don't have to worry about fuel whatsoever. And that's thanks to the RTG that I have back there. The radioisotope thermoelectric generator. No more fuel requirements for me. Let's hand over control to the main computer. If I could capture this thing, that would be even better. I could kill the AI, dismantle it, and then take it for my own purposes. Strip it for resources and get 16,000 points of resources in my own ship. The thing is, you need to stray quite far from your Hearthstone to do that, and if that goes wrong, you die. Not something that I want to have happen. Because if you die, there's no respawning. There's the torpedoes merrily closing on the submarine. I don't believe I can speed this up any further. But I don't mind preying on these weaker ships a bit. Growing my own sub. Torpedoes closing. Decent spacing between them. They shouldn't all detonate together. Let's see what this thing has left. That looks like a sort of grinder system. This looks like whatever's left of a missile system. That's whatever's left of its engine. And here comes the first torpedo. Hit. Whoa. It really didn't like that. Too damaged. I may have hit a magazine of some sort. I did 131k. Wow. That was a bit more lethal than I had expected. And he left 977 salvage behind. Thank you. I will happily make use of that and build my sub out even further. There's the Patchwork. The Patchwork still has a nice amount of resources left. And I believe that the Patchwork... Let's see, I don't think it has any anti-submarine weapon systems. It might, but I don't think so. It does have a few missiles there. I gotta say, this thing is butt ugly. Hence the name Patchwork, but it has all sorts of weapon systems. A couple of missiles there. What looks like a cannon up there. I'd say a large cram cannon, potentially in the bow. A propeller, and a, what's it called again? A paddle ship, or a paddle system. It really doesn't make that much sense. But hey, it's meat. At least it is for me. It is just quite far away at 4 clicks. Quite far away indeed. First priority is to, pick up the resources that are still left behind here. Turn port a little bit. And then what are we going to do? You know what, I have a few resources. Normally, if I get hit by an EMP, that's going to hit me in the rear. So I'm going to put some surge protectors. Absorbs a huge amount of EMP damage, which effectively steers EMP strikes away from delicate computing equipment that might be destroyed. So by doing a couple of these things on the rear, by putting a couple of these things on the rear, I should be able to absorb impact that might be caused by an EMP. Because EMP is not good for my submarine. If an EMP actually manages to hit my ship, then that's going to cause all sorts of destruction, especially among my electrical systems, and especially along these PIDs. If those get destroyed, the submarine falls completely out of control. Okay, what else can we do about this sub? You know what, since I'm a bit bored at the moment as I'm waiting, we're gonna go painting. And I'm gonna make this thing very, very dark. So no colors, intensity maximum. Painting mode enabled, mirror mode enabled. We're gonna paint the entire top section of the sub pitch black. So that if someone looks down, they're gonna see nothing but darkness. Although, I don't find it particularly likely that they're going to see me at 180 meters below surface. But you never know. At least it looks a bit better while we're playing this thing, right? And the AI mainframe, the sonar, propeller's already done. Let's move on to the sides. These are always a bit finicky because they're more or less inside. There we go. All of the submarine. That is the top section done. And let's paint the rest of it red. Bright red, intensity darker-ish. Paint mode. And it looks like I already picked up the resources. Just noticed that I have 1640 points of resources aboard. So that is perfect. Let's go for the patchwork. Take that thing out, scrap it for resources, and keep hunting. Unfortunately, there does not seem to be a fill all mode, or I haven't found it yet. Oh, torpedoes are in range. Good. That means that they're probably firing at the patchwork. Although, no, actually, there seem to be a lot more targets in range all of a sudden. Yep, they're firing at the patchwork. And considering that it says 20k damage, I think I've already done quite a bit of damage to it. Slow down a bit. You can see that the patchwork is down to 93%. Now the patchwork is mostly made out of wood. At least that's the way it looks from the top. So firing EMPs at this thing can work, but it's not particularly useful. I don't believe that that's going to be the main thing that's going to be damaging the ship. I think that the patchworks are particularly vulnerable to stuff like explosive warheads. Because wood buckles pretty easily, and if the explosive damage goes through, can hit the magazine. That's what I'm going for. That's what I'm trying to hit. Let's see if there's other targets nearby. 1733 resources, that looks good. There's the blue gate. Hello, what are you? A sea flayer. It seems like it either doesn't have any detection systems, which is not true, there's a sensor up there, or that it's, I don't know, its AI just seems turned off? That's weird. Why would the AI be turned off? I don't know, never mind. I think it's made out of metal, easy target for EMP warheads. And is there something else nearby? I think I saw another red bit there. Oh, patchwork, are you in trouble? 88 hit points, or 88% left. 86, that looked like an ammo explosion. Last torpedo hit, 85% left. Damage done, 60,000. Yes, please. More torpedoes. It almost feels like a bit of seal clubbing, wouldn't you say? But hey, now it's my turn. I have been clubbed enough right at the start when I was trying adventure mode time and time again. For now, my turn to do the damage. can see it's almost missing the entire aft of the ship. Seems to be just connected by that bit of wood there. And I'm getting a nice amount of resources from it too, but of course I need to kill. I want to get this thing dead, so that I can completely absorb all of the resources that it's going to leave behind. And then that thing is the next target. And it seems that there's another target up here. Hello. What would you be? A sea adder. I haven't seen those things in forever. They are really, really weak ships. They have just 2 tiny cram cannons on the bow, and that's it. Small paddle boat, barely any propulsion, barely any resources. Not an interesting target. Keep firing torpedoes into this little patchwork, or there's proceedingly little left of it. It seems that my torpedoes are a bit confused. Why are they no longer going after the patchwork? Are they now going for the new target? Yep, they're going for the sea flare. And the sea flare apparently has noticed what's going on. It's making good speed as well, at 21 knots, or 21 meters per second. But I doubt it can outrun a torpedo. We're about to find out. There's another missile heading for the patchwork. I could adjust my missile type or my torpedo system to go for EMP warheads instead of explosive warheads. But I'm not sure, because I'm still firing torpedoes at the patchwork. Looks like a torpedo may have just impacted. Oh yes it did. Sea flare just took a lot of damage. I think most of it was below waterline, because we cannot see what the damage is. There's another hit, and another one, and another one, and another one. Ooh, that one hurt. I think that was the turret. Oh yes, look at that. That was a cram cannon turret. No, an advanced cannon turret that was completely blown off. 56% left. And the next salvo is already there. 50% left. 45%. This thing does not stand a chance, and it's too damaged to continue. Meaning, resources. 600. Not too bad. But how about you? You're still here. Surprisingly, I might add. 59%. How is that thing not dead? I mean, there's nothing left. Another torpedo comes in. Boom. Come on, blow that part off. It's no longer attached, right? Not sure that the AI actually minds about that, but it should. Yep, there's one part of the ship falling off. There's the other part. And it is too damaged. And leaves behind 1,600 points. Thank you very much. A head full, and let's pick up the resources. And I think that's... yeah, it's all targets killed off. There's another bit of resources there, only 322. Nothing too interesting. Seem to be 2 targets towards the south. Where then? Sometimes it's really hard to find these ships. Is that something? Yep, it's a Submarine 2. Barely any resources. And by the looks of it, it's been firing quite a bit of ammunition as well. Do we pick up the resources here? We're closing in. And where's the other ship? Because there were definitely other targets nearby. Where are you at? 248,000 damage done. Look at that. I gotta say, I think that the platypus is shaping up quite nicely. I like the way it looks. Sure, it's not the most pretty submarine around. It's not really an issue. And can I adjust it any further with rubber blocks, maybe? Rubber block is capable of deflecting the strongest vehicle-on-vehicle and vehicle-on-terrain collisions, but it's weak. It's completely oblivious to EMP damage. It has the lowest possible radar return. I thought that was the light alloy block. No, this thing has a low radar return. This thing has the lowest possible radar return. And I can only go for standard blocks? What do they look like? That's not particularly pretty, nor hydrodynamic. No thanks. 5,000 points of resources. Let's make a port turn, correction, starboard turn, pick up the resources there. Speed looks good. Yep. I think, though, that my turn or my count... Oh, we're firing. What are we firing at? Or is that the radar buoy? Yeah, it must have been the radar buoy. Nothing serious. No ships nearby, no targets, no nothing. What's this again? This is the air pump. This is the hydrofoil. Where is my PID? That is set up as the anti-rotation system. That one, the roll system. Can I go with 0.03? Probably not. Where's the resources? A little bit closer there. No, I apologize that this isn't too interesting to watch. I might go through this red warp gate here, provided it is actually something I can go through and start hunting some more interesting targets. In order to do that, I might need shields. And for shields to run efficiently and for a decent duration, I'm going to go for an additional radioisotope, whatever, an RTG. Way easier. An RTG. There we go. That was quite expensive. Let's increase the battery size. And then go for a shield. It is going to be a shield sitting combined with an ACB. An automated control block. This is going to take up a lot of power. And I mean a lot of power. Because I want to have the shields cover most of the sub. Width doesn't need to be that wide. Oof. I cannot even cover it with one shield. Not even close. Power use 12.88. It's not too bad. And this will work mostly against shells. Let's say depth charges. Against torpedoes, not so much. Radar laser absorbs the laser, but lasers don't work below surface level, at least in the current state anyway. Let's pull the shield down a bit. Set shield strength to... Oh, we're firing at an airborne target. What is going on? Yes, we have a duster overhead. Oh, look at that poor thing. 29 meters per second. It is trying to do damage to the sub. But seriously? I don't think that's going to work out too well for you. Give me control of the weapons. Let's follow one in. There's the duster. Locked on. And it hits him perfectly. AI... What? Okay. That was a cheap kill. Apparently, that missile that I was looking at killed the AI and managed to do so much damage to it that it's just no longer there. Cool. So, 2,400 points of resources aboard. And let's head for the red warp gate. Let's go and hunt down stuff our own size. First I'm going to put her onto a turn, and then I'm going to make sure that that shield has an ACB, so it only activates when there's actual targets nearby. There we go. Okay. Course is good. This shield is not bad, but I'm going to need to put it a bit further forward. Now, I don't have too much in the sense of experience with shields. I haven't used them that much. So if you have any additional recommendations or tactics on how to specifically use the shields, or how to specifically set them up, then by all means, let me know. Looking forward to your updates and suggestions in the comments. Height is good. Width is pretty good. I'm going to pull it a bit closer to the sub. Save some energy. No azimuth. None. Elevation. More or less covering sub. Let's say 10 degrees. How does that look? Yeah, I like that. We're going to ramp up the shield strength to 5. That's going to eat through my energy reserves. That's okay. The shield ends about there, so let's say that I need to add the next one here. Width doesn't need to be particularly wide. I think 12 will do. And then height as much as possible. There, it connects beautifully with the other shield. It is... Is the other shield aligned middle? Yep, the shield is not aligned middle. Can't have that. Cannot have that. Paste. There, that's better. Let's take a bit off of the height. Needs to be more or less overlapping with the other shield. And the width looks good. I'd say the width on the second shield is a bit better than the one on the first. Let's put this one on, whoops, not elevation. But a width of about 12, I think. Yeah, there's a slight overlap in the shields, but that's okay. And then I can use the same settings as far as power, which is 5. Copy the clipboard. And put one on the stern as well. We're going to paste them there. Now, this thing is taking up way more energy than I can generate at the moment, so you can see some of these shields not being activated. I think the shields in general look good. However, my poor electric engine is simply not putting out enough power, and moreover I'm draining the batteries. So this is more or less an emergency field. It's not designed to be here for very long. So 2 ACBs. 1. If the enemy range is greater than, let's say 1,000, then turn the shields, where's the shields, off. There we go. Shields are off. Batteries are recharging. The other one. If there is an enemy in range less than 1,000, turn the shield projectors to disrupt. So the shields should stay off. My batteries are going to get charged very nicely. And I'm basically waiting... Oh, I changed course a bit. I'm basically waiting for anything to hit me and then activate the shields. Ooh. Okay, before I head to that red warp gate, I'm going to start mining some resources first. But I'm going to be doing that next episode. Hope you enjoyed this one. There was not that much in the sense of action, but I hope you enjoyed it anyway. Especially the design part, painting part, and the shielding is now operational. If you have any recommendations, let me know in the comments. Always open to suggestions. And otherwise, I'll be able to see you soon in the next episode.